If you want to read When the Moon Hatched but it scares you, you need to watch this video. So this much of the first few pages of the book is all glossary. Skip the glossary. I'm going to explain the need to knows about the glossary and the world building of When the Moon Hatched. Obviously, we're starting with the map, okay? I know you can't see it all. It's okay. You don't have to. I'm just going to do like a brief explanation here. So this is the world. This is like the planet that they live on. This is the sun. Down here, no sun. In this world is stagnant, does not rotate. The sun stays here, the world stays here. How does that work, you may ask? It's real hot up here and real bright, and that's the burn. This is the fade right here, where they start at the beginning of the book. This is like your sunset golden hour all the time. Down here, this is the shade. It is icy, cold, and dark all the time. From North Pole to South Pole, there are these things called the aurora ribbons that are tethered, okay? And they rotate in a 24-hour period around the world, okay? And that's how they keep track of their days and nights, except they call it day and slumber. And I think she did that because there is technically no like day and night, because there is no sunrise, sunset. So one aurora cycle equals 1 day. One phase equals 1 year. There are 5 gods, the creators of the world. They are all elemental, okay? So we have Kalis. He is the god of the aether, which is the space, the nothingness space in between everything. We have Claude, the goddess of the air. We have Rain, the goddess of water. Ignis, the god of fire. And then Boulder, the god of like the earth. And they all sing songs, and that is part of the magic system. So let me explain. So on this world, there are fae, and so you have nulls. The nulls don't hear any of the elemental creators' songs at all. And then you have the fae who have beads. So you can have 1 bead, 2 beads. It's very rare to have 3 beads. You're likely on the council and making decisions at that point. The beads signify which elemental song you hear. And that's explained. I don't need to explain that right now. But you wear a different colored bead depending on which elemental song you hear. And that god kind of like blesses you with their power. Also, like most stories with fae, iron suppresses the magic. In order to tell you more about these creators, I first have to tell you about the dragons. So there are 3 different species of dragons, and they all live in different areas of that world. Remember, we have the burn up at the top by the sun. That's where the saber sizes live. They really like it hot, and they like the sun. So that's why they live up at the top in the burn. And they kind of look more like your classic dragon, like what you would picture a dragon looking like, okay? And in order for people to bond with these dragons, typically you have to steal one of their eggs and then like bond with it at birth. You can bond with a mature dragon. It is just very difficult to do so without them, The molten maws live in the fade, and they have these vibrant different colored feathers, and they breathe fire, and their eggs are a little bit easier to steal than the other 2. Then down in the south, where it's really cold and dark in the shade, is where you will find a moon plume. They are typically like a silver or white colored dragon, and they really like it icy. They have like icy breath, and in order to incubate their eggs, they have to be packed with snow. And they cannot tolerate the sun. It will damage their eyes and make their skin blister up. When any dragon crosses the rainbow bridge at the end of its life, it flies up into the sky until it curls over onto itself and then calcifies into a ball and becomes a moon. So this world separates 2 different times in history by before stone, BS, and after stone, AS. That's because once upon a time, these moons, the calcified dragons, would just randomly get ripped from the sky and crash into the earth and destroy whole cities, which wasn't great. So they eventually blamed Kalis for this. They decided this was all his fault because he was the god of the ether in that space. And they thought that because he was just looking for attention, wanted somebody to like notice him or whatever, he was ripping the moons out of the sky. So what they decided to do to stop this from happening was they put his life force, they put his essence into this black stone that they call the ether stone. Another moon wouldn't fall for another 5 million phases after they trapped Kalis. And when it did again, that takes place in kind of a recent history of when our story starts. I'll also just go ahead and mention that that ether stone is then put into a diadem, which is then worn by one of the female royals, and it becomes like magically a permanent fixture on their head, and it kind of weakens them a little bit. The government in this world is very corrupt. They're very misogynistic, and we have a very badass, stabby FMC, and her goal is to take them all down. All of this gets explained in the prologue with beautiful prose, and for some reason, like, I was just enjoying the writing. It went all right over my head. if you like Throne of Glass and Game of Thrones, like this is the book for you to obsess over next.